social media weaponized the movement. It spread discontent over platforms which are not under India's control at all. These algorithms were used to sort of force multiply the grievance. There is a genuine issue, but on top of that, what happens is that the social media amplifies it to a level as if, something unearthly was happening. The incitement on the street has to be contained. Meta got away very easily because the people who did send, these people are paid to get hit. Either India comes up with its own platforms, or these multinational platforms that are used should have servers within India.
Hello and a very warm welcome to all. You're watching Point Blank and my name is Aisha Varma. From viral reels and memes that carry the CJP agitation from phones to the streets, to Meta's controversial takedown of the Prime Minister's outreach video, tonight we ask, has social media become the decisive force shaping public mobilization, and how can India preserve free expression while preventing digital platforms from fueling the next flashpoint? Joining us to discuss this is HT's executive editor. Sir, namaskar. So the protest and the role of social media has come into question. Is social media to be blamed, or was it organic?
The answer is a little bit more complicated than that. Obviously, there was a grievance. There was a genuine grievance and everybody knows about it. There was a neat paper leakage. So around it, sort of a movement was built up. And around it, there was certain amount of organic, demonstrations, protests. But social media weaponized the movement. Now, how the social media weaponized the movement was that it basically spread discontent. It spread discontent over platforms which are not under India's control at all. These are foreign platforms. The servers are based abroad. You have no idea as to what really is happening. These platforms basically, these algorithms were used to sort of force multiply the grievance, incite the grievance, aggravate the issue, rather than sort of, to stabilize it down and calm the protest. The whole idea was to prioritize the discontent and put the solution down. This is what has been happening in social media. And it's a matter of very serious concern. Because what is happening is that these algorithms actually amplify the discontent. And when people see the discontent over various platforms, then they start to react on that. So there is a genuine issue. But on top of that, what happens is that the social media amplifies it to a level as if, something unearthly was happening. And that is why it is very important to look at this social media platforms and to make them accountable. You see, the problem over here is like this. You have a newspaper. If we publish a wrong report, we immediately get a response from the government saying that this report is wrong, and we publish it saying that this report is wrong by publishing a corrigendum. Similarly, in visual media, if there is an issue, they also have to either withdraw the report or apologize on the report. But in social media, no such accountability happens. You do something, by the time the government reacts, it's viral all over the place. So the discontent is already spread. So think about it. If they're just purely students or purely people who genuinely are affected by the entire thing, there are some people behind the show who are actually trying to generate the discontent, to generate negativity, to incite people, to instigate people for their own political or other means. That is what is the problem. That is what makes the society very vulnerable. Here the question is, you use the social media to amplify things, to bring down things. For instance, you saw in the recent protests, young girls abusing the Prime Minister. Now, this was done to deliberately denigrate the institution of the Prime Minister, denigrate the individual. So there is a plan in this. It is not a simple thing. People may see it very simply, but we know when the algorithm comes into action, when certain social media elements are prioritized over the other ones, which are basically asking for specifying the lot, then you realize that there is a larger game at work. And that larger game at work needs to be contained. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to actually handle such elements. And that is why it is important that, the government goes beyond, like having a press information bureau, which actually started in 1919, which is now outdated. I mean, by the time you come up with the press release, things are already over. People are already on the street. So the incitement on the street has to be contained. And if there is a deliberate play behind it, that needs to be made accountable. And that is why the current protests have actually brought the spotlight on how to ensure that the social media is not misused for other powers or people who are inimical to India.
So are we also going to see a similar call for control when we talk about rape threats, death threats, harassment as well that takes place on social media?
Absolutely. This goes all over the place. You have to, you can't have this. This is not a free-for-all. Freedom of speech has conditions. It's not just simply freedom of speech.
What conditions?
See, you have to read Article 19 and its clauses to understand that there are conditions. You can't just simply say everything. You're liable and you're accountable for that. So if anybody does that, he's criminally liable for that. So that is where it is. But the point is, here what is happening is, the platforms are not Indian platforms. The platforms are based in US. The platforms servers are based in US. The accountability is not there. So what you need is to make these people accountable. Make them liable for this. Just like the newspapers are liable. We can't just simply publish anything that goes on. Similarly, the visual media cannot do that. What is happening in social media is, in the name of freedom of speech, it's a free-for-all, which is not the right thing to do, which is not the right thing for the society also. And there is a much bigger game at play. There is a game where you're subtly, your idea are formulated, weaponized in a certain direction. That has to be stopped for a genuine social media to be there. Social media is not all bad. It's a great thing where people can say what they want to say. But then everything, there has to be accountability to do that.
So the instance of the Prime Minister's video being removed from Facebook and Meta being grilled over this, was this action required?
Absolutely. There was no reason for the Facebook to drop the Prime Minister's video. No reason whatsoever. And I think Meta got away very easily because the people who did send, these people are paid to get hit, paid to get a dressing down from the governments. They should have been accountability much more than this. We should be actually looking at all these platforms being accountable like other media is. Like you and I are accountable. Okay? So, just because, why did you drop it? Why did you drop the Prime Minister's video? You can't simply say, I just forgot. No, there was some algorithm at work. Maybe there was something else. So, I don't think so. I think the government has to be much more stricter than this.
What was the reasoning given for dropping the video?
See, the point is that they said that this is a mistake.
Okay.
Yeah. Right? Or whatever thing they may have told the Minister of Information Technology. I'm not privy to that. But the fact remains is, why did you drop it in the very first place? It was a critical comment. And you drop a critical comment at a time when there is violence on streets. There is some problem in that. So that is why it is important that these people, like everybody, is governed by a law. It's not an anarchical society. Everybody is governed by a law, and so should these platforms be also governed by law.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where it is.
When we talk about those who are governed by law, there has also been a big lens on police officials who were there at the protests. One of the reports which has been going around and which people are criticizing a lot is the fact that they were using facial recognition technology to identify those at the protests. Can you explain the significance of what's taking place with this?
I would recommend people to understand what it is all about. For people handling law and order, various things have come into being. I mean, like CCTV, facial recognition technology. Like, if you were to go to Tiananmen Square, you would see at least 100,000 CCTV cameras using facial recognition technology. If you go to Washington, London, whichever country, you will see all this. So why is it so different in India? I mean, nobody is trying to take your freedom. The point is, if you are violating law, you should be held accountable. That's a limited point to make. Now, the whole thing is to ensure law and order, you have to take certain action. I am not here to defend the Delhi police, or I am not here to defend the protesters. What I am trying to tell you is that this is a standard procedure all over the world. You can go to Japan, you can go to Australia, you can go to any country, right? So, if they use facial recognition technology for identifying those who have done criminal action, then it is justified. If it is used for something else, then it is wrong. And for that, there has to be data protection. You just simply cannot use the data for something else. This is purely for law and order situations. That's where it is, right? And I do not know what kind of facial recognition technology that they use, but this is a standard procedure in Europe. It is a standard procedure in US. It's a standard procedure everywhere. That's where it is.
Some are asking how we can prevent political eruptions from coming up in the future.
See, it's not a question of preventing political eruptions. Political eruptions will happen, right? They will happen. It's a legitimate democratic right to protest. This should happen all over the place. If there is a grievance, there has to be a protest. There's not a question about it. The point is, why is this social media being weaponized?
Okay.
So the answer in all this is that what is important is that either India comes up with its own platforms, or these multinational platforms that are used should have servers within India so that they're accountable. That is what is important. Nobody is stopping anybody's right to protest. They can protest as much as they want. That's not the point. If there is a grievance, if there is a problem, people have to voice their opinion about it. But the problem in this is that when you have a social media platform which is not based in India, whose algorithms are governed by a third country, then how do you make them accountable? If you don't make them accountable, it becomes free for all. And this causes chaos and this causes violence. Okay, this does not lead to good governance. Understand this, that, this is not benign. For instance, when President Donald Trump went after TikTok, Chinese TikTok, it ensured that only TikTok will function if they have servers within US. Why can't India do the same to all this? Does it take so much of a problem with that? So what you need is, the solution is simple. The solution is, you have a platform, fair enough, you're welcome to it. But you bring your servers in India. You ensure that the data doesn't go out. You ensure that you are made accountable. It's not some, Tom, Dick and Harry doing public policy and coming and sort of, taking a dressing down from some minister and being very happy about it. The point is, there is a much bigger game at play, because the same social media is used to generate discontent, is used by people other than normal elements of the society, like the deep state, to weaponize a narrative. To weaponize a narrative against third countries. China does it. Pakistan does it. Half the countries in the Middle East does it. Iran does it. Estonia does it. Russia does it. You tell me which country does not do it. The whole thing in this is that you want to have a social media, bring your servers over here, make them accountable to Indian law, and do not play the editor in this. I mean, if you're an aggregator of news, you put the news in whichever fashion it is. But if you start to rate news, then you become an editor. And if you become an editor, then you are accountable under the law. So this is, on the face of it, it appears very simple. But this is part of what is called the information warfare. And this has been used by many countries since the Arab Spring to generate discontent. And just look at what has Arab Spring done to Middle East. Just look at what it has done to Libya. Just look at what it has done to other countries. And then you realize how dangerous this uncontrolled social media is. Freedom, yes, by all means. Freedom of speech, yes, by all means. But that does not mean that you make a country vulnerable on national security or politically by weaponizing a narrative. And that was being done. And that is wrong.
Out of curiosity, what's your take on the China model where foreign social media is not allowed?
See, China has realized very clearly. China knows that it is being targeted now by US. I mean, once US thought that way back in 1970, where the great Henry Kissinger thought that, it could change China, make China democratic by giving it more, incentivizing it and everything. Then they got them into WTO. But then China didn't change. So China was clear that it wanted to become the number one power. That's what it wants to be. If China wants to be the number one power, China has to firewall against all this narrative that is going to come from countries other than that, from its adversaries, particularly like the US. So that is why they have done their own media. Now, my point here is that whether it is good or bad, that's for the Chinese to decide. It's not for me to say that. I've been to China. It's very difficult for an anti-China narrative to go over there. I remember very vividly when I had gone in 2019, the moment the Hong Kong protest started, the TV, the BBC channel used to switch off. But that is the Chinese model. I'm not talking about Chinese model. That's an authoritarian model. I'm talking about democratic model. But the democratic model also has its limits. You have to ensure that the social media is balanced, allows people to speak, does not spew hatred against people, does not denigrate institutions, and does not target the vulnerable. If you do that, then it's all very fine. Otherwise, we are being governed by an algorithm which is run by a third country.
Sir, thank you so much for joining us and providing us with more insight on these developments. With that, it's a wrap, but do stay tuned.